What's up, Brainiacs? Well, I got my toes in the sand, my drink in my hand. Blabber Brains Show is getting ready to kick off summer 2024, and we're coming in hot with drummer from the Protest, Jarob Bramlett. You're not going to miss this show. Let's do this.
Blabber Brains.
Welcome to Blabber Brains Show, Brainiacs. Hey, it's summer 2024 edition Blabber Brains Show. Woo! All right, let's get this party started and get the summer kicked off. I am Michael M. Kadrie. The Joker over there in the beach bum hat is Big M. Mark Anthony. What is happening, sir? Happy summer.
Oh, it's a little too hot for me. I'm not overly happy yet. Yeah, but geez, man, I tried to sit out on my porch on Sunday. I think it would have been Sunday. I wanted to watch the UFL championship game. It came on at 5:00 here on the East Coast, and I'm out there, and of course I have my blinds down, and I have a big, powerful fan blowing, and it didn't even get to the heat that we're having right now. Close, but it was just that first day of this heat wave that we're having here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
and I couldn't take it. I went out, and my thermometer on my porch in the shaded area was at 98 degrees because that sun comes directly straight at about 5:00 until almost sundown, straight in onto my porch in the front of my house, straight at you. So it was at 98. Last time I looked out there, it was at, I don't know, 97, 98 too. So, and it's all cloudy here. It looks like a storm might be blowing through here why we do this today.
Yeah, one already came through my area a little bit ago, so they're worried about power outages, but looks like we're pretty safe for right now. Anyways, we've got a great guest coming up later on, Jarob Bramlett from the Protest. Can't wait to get to that. You guys got to stick around for that. And this is season 5 of Blabber Brains Show. We want to thank everybody for their well wishes for our 5th anniversary, including all of our past guests. And, you know, I know a lot of our past guests wished us 5 more, 10 years more, many more. But we do have some bittersweet news to announce that season 5 looks like it will probably be the final season for Blabber Brains Show. I know you're all booing and sighing out there and hissing and whatever. But the simple fact of the matter is this. Look, our videos have been getting a ton of hits, right? It's a lot of views. Which is hard to do in today's day and age with podcasts and everything. It just hasn't translated into a huge amount of followers, which is what you kind of need to get sponsors on board so that they can help, pay for advertising so that we can, continue this thing on. And, we take that money from sponsors and pour it back into the show so we can advertise more and keep building the audience and so on and so forth. So, and after 5 years with all the wonderful guests we've had on the show, I don't know what the situation is, but looks like we've been doing this for fun, anyways. Really, we started doing this just for fun back in COVID, and it's been a blast. I never expected this to go 5 years. I expected it maybe let's get a year or two out of it just for fun because we didn't know what was going on with COVID at the time. And it has been a blast. I feel blessed with the level of guests that we've had on this show. And but the Big M and I are moving on to other projects as soon as we wind this down, maybe beforehand. Mark has got the Mark Anthony podcast starting up, and you want to pimp that a little bit and let people know what you're going to have going on with your podcast.
I have no idea what's going on with it. No.
Well, what's the plan anyways?
Actually, I don't know if I'd even call it a podcast, but it's just going to be on Facebook. As simple as that. It's going to be
the Facecast.
Yeah, Facecast. And it's going to be around entertainment here where we live here in southwestern Pennsylvania and the surrounding areas itself. So it's going to be more local, talking with musicians that I know, musicians that I don't know, and some of the venues and things like that that are popping up here in southwestern Pennsylvania, which are cool. So it's gonna focus on the local scene here.
Well, that's awesome. We can't wait for that because I think Pittsburgh doesn't really have a lot like that right now. So there's, plenty of other national podcasts that focus on the national, but not a whole lot focusing on the local level. So I think Pittsburgh could use something like that. So
we'll see. We'll see if they want it or not. But
well, yeah, you got to find out, right? So we wish you nothing but the best with that. And just for the sake of purpose, I mean, Mark and I go back 30, how many years now? 37 years, I think, something like
somewhere,
that.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere around.
Something like we've been friends 37 years. We'll be probably friends till the day we die. So nothing's going on with us.
37 would be about right because I think we met when we were 21.
Right. So there's nothing going on with us. We're not splitting up or anything. We're still going to hang out and smoke cigars and have our own little blabberings and wherever we happen to be established. But I've been feeling drawn more towards doing something a little bit more in the faith-based realm. So later on this year, I will be launching Rock Your Faith Out. I know it sounds like it's something that would just only have to do with rock musicians, but it's just kind of a cool name. It will feature a lot of Christian rock artists because I've made a lot of good connections in that realm, in that area, and it will we'll explore with a multitude of different people, probably people on the well-known level, whether they are in the entertainment industry or the music industry or what have you. Want to have them on the show, and we're just going to talk about their faith, what it means to them, how they came to their faith, how they came to be a believer, and how they use it in their everyday life. If there's a testimony involved, whatever, we're still going to keep it lighthearted. We're going to still have some fun and some laughs, but a little bit deeper subject matter, and it's something I was just drawn towards doing. So again, we're still going to finish out season 5 here. I don't know how many more episodes we're going to do. Us, we like to have one episode a month, but that never ends up happening. So we'll see what happens. So as far as happenings in the stratosphere of things to talk about, I just noticed that recently that's popping up in the news about Justin Timberlake getting arrested for DUI. If you didn't see that.
This morning I did.
Yeah, he got arrested for DUI. And that brought up an interesting thought as I was driving on the interstate today. And I see this billboard. I passed by this billboard. And you see them everywhere. I mean, it's not just Pittsburgh. You see these things everywhere. Billboards of attorneys saying, DUI problem, contact us. We'll help you out and all that stuff. I wonder if somebody like Justin Timberlake hires an attorney like that because they just handle all these that's their specialty is DUI, or does he call his own attorney and have his own attorney try to take a crack at it? I can't imagine, like, if he calls up one of these attorneys just from seeing her name on a billboard, could you imagine trying to get him to convince this guy that he's really Justin Timberlake and not just some drunk guy trying to get out of a DUI charge? The guy he'd hang up on him.
I think he'll go to the people who represent him and see what they say that needs to be done. I just don't think, and I think nowadays, especially nowadays, they're not, especially with DUIs and things like that, I don't see there being, I'm not going to say that he might not get some sort of special treatment, but I don't think that when it comes now, especially now, when it comes to drunk driving under the influence, when you blatantly do something wrong, I think he's just going to have to work out a deal, plead guilty. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, like he was driving erratically, went through a stop sign or a light or something like that. I just don't think that they're going to do anything as far as, I mean, look, if it's his first offense and everything like that, look, he's not going to go. It's not like he's going to go into prison or something like that.
It might be the first offense that made it in the public eye. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't see, unless the guy has a has a history of other issues that like this, and he's been arrested for this before, I mean, they're going to end up fining him. They may, which isn't going to make much of a difference. They may suspend his license for a period of time. Now, when you're at his level, I mean, I think probably his biggest issue with it is embarrassment, and knowing now that it's so publicized, if he does anything stupid again like that, then then they're going to throw a friggin' book at him. You
Right.
know, I mean, I think like when people talk about Patrick Mahomes' dad, who's had a multiple DUIs, got it again right before they won the Super Bowl. I think it was that weekend he was supposed to go.
That was, you're right. Yeah, it was close to it. Yeah.
Yeah, we were down in Florida when he got arrested. Or that maybe it was earlier in the week, but it was that dad was planning on going to the Super Bowl. Now people are saying because of who his dad is, he'll just get a slap on the wrist, not with multiple DUIs. That's not gonna happen. They might cut him a break of where he might serve a little bit of time, but and look, I understand. Look, somebody could screw up. I'm somebody whose father died in a car accident when he was 7, and my dad was drinking. So, and luckily he didn't kill somebody else or hurt anybody else,
Right.
And I mean, he took out a telephone pole. It took them an hour and a half to cut him out. Obviously, he was dead when they showed up, and
Right.
they had to cut the roof off of his car to get him out. So I understand somebody may screw up once, but I'm probably the worst person to talk to as far as people that get a second time or their alcohol levels double the legal limit. I have no real sympathy for that.
Right.
I just don't. And
because it's just it's selfishness is what it is, because if you're drinking and driving, you're only thinking of yourself. Now people might see us having a beer or something like that. I mean, one beer is not getting you intoxicated enough to drive, but you're sitting there pounding them down, and you get in a car to drive and thinking I'm fine, or maybe at the very least, if I get an accident, what do I care? I can afford to get my car fixed, or I'll be fine, or whatever. But if you're not stopping and thinking about that you can be hurting somebody else or killing somebody else, it's just plain old selfishness to do that. Especially a celebrity, you can't call a limousine service to come and pick you up.
Call an Uber or anything.
Uber something. That's just
some attractive girl that's not drunk. I mean, if you're Justin Timberlake, you can find somebody. I mean, look, if I was sitting here on my porch, I'm not even a Justin Timberlake fan. But if Justin Timberlake, I don't even know me. Hey, dude, I'm a bit impaired. Is there any way that you could drive me home? I live I'm 20 minutes or half hour from here. It's Justin Timberlake. I'll give you a lift. I'll even next day call me up. I'll pick you up and take you to your car. But it is kind of crazy it's one thing when it's somebody, who, who's just an average person, or they don't have much money. I don't know. I think a lot. I don't think, especially in 2024, that I could give any excuse to somebody saying, well, I didn't want to, I didn't know what to do. I mean, there's something that you could. There's something that you could.
Especially, since this is our summer show. People are this is the time when people are going out, they're partying, they're having fun, they're drinking, they're going on a boat, whatever, what have you. Just do it responsibly. Have a designated driver, or call an Uber or whatever. Just do it responsibly, and if you have to, call one of those DUI lawyers up if you happen to get pulled over. Maybe tell him you're Justin Timberlake. Maybe he'll believe you, and you can pawn yourself off as that. That also reminds me of something else I saw in the news. Talking about trying to convince somebody that you're somebody who you are or aren't or whatever. The singer for the Four Tops, did you hear about this?
I don't think I know this one.
First of all, nobody's going to know who you are. I'm sure they've heard of the Four Tops, but if they're looking at you, they're just thinking you're some old dude, whatever. But he apparently went and checked himself into a hospital with heart distress. And he was asking the hospital for like extra protection because he was worried about fans coming into the hospital or stalkers or whatever. And he was telling him he was the singer for the Four Tops. And he's worried. Well, they thought the dude was crazy. And they actually put him in a straitjacket because they didn't believe him. And it's like, well, let's say for the sake of argument that they still believed him. Wouldn't your response be to, dude, you're okay. Don't worry. Nobody knows. Nobody's going to know you being here in the hospital. But you go to the level of putting a guy in a straitjacket. How about check out his story first? Maybe
there's got to be more to it. They're putting you in a straitjacket.
He says he's suing the hospital. He said he's suing the hospital because of it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like, yes, if it ended up being, I mean, usually they're doing that because they're afraid you're going to hurt yourself for someone.
Right.
So if you're just talking, why would they do that? I mean, it doesn't make, I don't know, there's a piece of that story. It doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's like going into the hospital and saying, hey, I'm one of the pips.
No, Smokey Robinson. Robinson walked
It's not the same, dude. It's not the same. Nobody knows who the singer of the Four Tops is, nor do they know any other replacement singer that is singing for any other band. Like, I mean, I'm not sure if Earth, Wind, and Fire still has their original members. I'm assuming they probably don't have a lot of their same original members. But if you're like a replacement singer for one of those bands, and you're trying to convince somebody that you're somebody important, but yet they're looking at you like, dude, nobody's going to know who you are. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't know. I just found that funny. So, not only would Justin Timberlake have a hard time convincing somebody that he was Justin Timberlake, this guy had a hard enough time convincing them that he was somebody famous and worthy of extra protection, to the point where they put him in a straitjacket because they thought he was crazy.
Yeah, there's got to be something going on, or somebody was. I mean, it just, that doesn't ring any. I don't know. There just has to be something missing from that story, unless he was starting to get erratic and crazy for him to say that. Who
knows? Yeah, there's obviously something that he's doing.
Or he refused treatment because of it, and they thought he was that they looked at him, or did some vitals, and they thought that he might end up working himself up into having, going into full blown cardiac arrest. But yeah, that's a weird one, because the Four Tops, I mean, obviously at one time, long time ago, I mean, Four Tops are huge.
I mean, maybe he got up and started doo-wopping and singing some of the songs to prove who he was, and they just thought he was nuts.
I think more people would be surprised that somebody from the Four Tops is still alive.
Right.
Just because, I mean, honestly, I mean,
Exactly.
long time has passed. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. He's probably a replacement singer or something like that, and
you're
whatever.
Talking like 60 years. You could go back to the Four Tops. What, 60 years? Wasn't it like the early 60s when those guys?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm sure they could be alive. They could be in their 80s or early 90s.
There probably is one, or there's probably well, obviously we know there's one. But you're talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire. They were just here in Pittsburgh a few days ago, right, with Lionel Richie. I think it was on Saturday or something like that. Yeah, I have no idea who's in the band. I would think that between both of those acts, they probably sold a lot of tickets. That would be my guess.
I think the gig was sold out. I think, in fact, mostly for Lionel Richie. But I mean, let's face it, Earth, Wind, and Fire had a lot of hit songs.
If you're in a Lionel Richie, there's a good chance you probably like Earth, Wind, and Fire too. So,
you're probably into the Commodores and stuff.
Yeah, I would think that would be a solid. That would be a solid bill. And I can't imagine Earth, Wind, and Fire going out and doing a show and sucking. Most of those artists from that era and those funk guys and that, they're usually, I mean, it's not like watching KC from the KC and the Sunshine Band come out and be god awful. I mean,
Right.
he's worse than a karaoke singer the last 20 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
it's
not
ridiculous.
sounding
He
too
even
good.
looks like he's ready to die up there. But those guys like Earth, Wind, and Fire or the Commodores or something like that, those guys are not going to go out and do a show unless it's good. I mean, those guys are those are some real musicians, and those.
Speaking of which,
those
I finally got around to watching that David Lee Roth, Jenny 8675309 song. He's talking about a guy who just really he probably needs to be put in a straitjacket or something.
Well,
I don't know.
who's putting it out? Who's telling him? Somebody's got to be running the board.
Dude, nobody's doing that. He's doing it all on his own. He's probably recording it in his own house or in a private studio or something like that.
You think he knows how to do that stuff?
I'm sure.
I don't think so.
After doing this for all those years, I'm sure he does.
I don't think so. I don't think he knows anything. I don't even think he knows what microphone he's.
Well, but he's
in.
still got enough money to pay somebody to do it. Right?
That's what I mean. I want to know who's going and listening and saying, "Dave, we got it. Let's leave it as is. It's phenomenal, man. Let's go. We need to start mixing this now." To me, it sounds like every time he's putting out some covers of a song, even of his own song, a remake of songs he actually was on, like doing Jump. To me, it sounds like there's no band, and he went on YouTube, found the best karaoke recording for the song, and then added his vocals in some sort of.
And maybe that's all it is. Maybe he just found a version of a karaoke song and said, "I'll just sing over top of it, easy peasy, get it out there." And
it sounds it. I mean, they've taken Tommy Two-Tone, who sounded like basically back in that time, he sounded like the Iron City House Rockers and the whole local Pittsburgh music scene at that time had that sort of sound. And he took that sound that had at least a little bit of edge to it and ruined it and ruined it. The music part of it's not even good.
Right.
Like at least the original version, I don't know. I like the song. I still like the song, but at least had some snap to it. Now it's like it's compressed and it's karaoke. It reminds you of a karaoke where they're making sure that nobody in the audience could possibly think it's a real band.
Right.
Putting that rhythm track out there.
Well, Dave, I know Dave's not going to listen to our advice, or is he probably ever going to see this show? But Dave, just find a different hobby, man. Go sell, hot dogs on the street corner because someone's just going to think you're some old dude selling hot dogs on a street corner or something like that.
And he's dancing. He's dancing, and he's got dance routines.
He can dance when he serves hot dogs.
But it's not even to the music that's being played. Like I could see if he was doing this, he likes to do his little thing and tip off his hat and, almost like an organ grinder monkey with a tin cup getting a quarter in it. I mean, he's at least do it to why can't he get that song? Because he obviously could dance, always has. Why can't he at least take the song and put together something for that instead of just taking whatever random stuff?
He probably had footage of him just dancing and goofing off and then just put that over top of the song. It probably had nothing. One had nothing to do with the other.
Well, I know it obviously hasn't had nothing to do with the other, but why? Why even put that there? Of course, there's more people, even with the Tommy Two-Tone, that say, "Oh, Dave, man, I love it. I love it better than the original version." Or, "Oh, it's so great."
Nobody's saying that.
Oh, there's I mean, most of the, even on I first saw it on Facebook. It came up on my musician page as like a suggestion thing. And I listened to it and, it was like, man, I knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah.
And it was bad. But most of the comments, "Oh, we love you, Dave. This is phenomenal. I love seeing you do this, what you do. Tommy, the Tommy Two-Tone version sucks compared to this version," which it doesn't. I mean, it's not even, and that's more, I can't even say it's just my opinion. I don't see any argument for taking David Lee Roth's cover of any, I've heard like maybe 4 or 5 of them, any covers that he's done, including his own Van Halen covers of Jump and stuff, that it's even remotely as even in the same ballpark as good as any of the originals. I don't understand how somebody is just, doing the work to finish it up, to get it out there and saying this is good, Dave, and not saying, because if I did that, and I'm not even famous, I don't see you seeing me in the studio doing that, not telling me something.
Oh, I'll tell you about it. For sure.
That's what I mean. So,
you know what, Dave, find a hobby, brother. This is probably not even worth a conversation. I shouldn't have even brought it up. But anyways, when you think of summer, you think of the old David Lee Roth with, California Girls. Great song, great version. But that was back when Dave had it. So,
Beautiful Girls.
All that stuff. So
another great song.
Anyways, let's take a short break here and we'll be back with our special guest, Jarob Bramlett, everybody. Be right back.
Blabber Brains.
For the hopeless and the faceless, at the end of the line, the days of fear and pain will be behind us. Stand out, we're not gonna fit. Speak truth when everything is counterfeit. Your choice, best pain, make it not. Brace for impact, feel the earth crack. Run the train off the rails of a death trap. So keep your blood bath, your violent war path against the grain, cause we step onto a new path.
All right, welcome back to Blabber Brains Show, Summer Edition 2024. Woohoo! we gotta do like a virtual beach ball or something like that. Pass it back. And
you want me to wave my big goofy hat for you, Mike?
No, that's
cool. Put something normal on for a change here.
Hey, we want to welcome to the show drummer for the protest, Jarob Bramlett. Everybody, let's give him a big round of applause.
Yeah.
I know Darren sounds like Mark and I applauding, but the crowd, they're cheering. Trust me, they're cheering.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
Oh, thanks for taking the time, man. I finally got to see you guys play live. I've obviously been listening to music for several years, seeing videos of you guys playing, but finally got to see you guys recently when you opened up for Disciple. And it was great meeting you. You and I have some similar connections, friends of the show and personal friends, like Trevor and Cindy, John Cooper have all been on the show. And I think you've got probably an interesting enough story to talk about, and you're a very busy guy, also a very talented guy. I've come to find out, but so we'll dive into a lot of that. First of all, you're playing in a band with your brother, Josh. What's that like? I mean, because I know sometimes working with family is tough enough. And I know a lot of times it works with brothers playing in a band. It's worked for AC/DC. It's worked for, a bunch of other bands, Red. Do you find that to be something that is more of an asset and helpful? I guess it's all depending on your relationship, but how do you find working with Josh? Is it obviously a plus asset? Otherwise you wouldn't be doing it, but what's your experience like?
Yeah, honestly, dude, we're super blessed, I think. And I think it's kind of rare, the relationship we have. We're also, so I mean, like the band, we've been going, for a pretty long time. And we usually see eye to eye on almost everything. We're very similar. We're best friends. And we also own a business together. So we kind of do everything in life together. We both had children the same year. It's kind of funny. So honestly, man, it's a blessing. And he's maybe the most easygoing person that I know. So the quarrels and tiffs are pretty few and far between.
Oh, well, that's good. It's good to hear. And, because, especially as you go on and as time goes on, that could, weigh on each other because you're with each other so much, it could affect your relationship, but I'm glad so far it seems like it hasn't. And you guys have been doing this for a while. I want to dive into that, but I also wanted to touch base on something that you just said. You have a business together because you guys are both, you have would you consider like a graphic design company or just a design company? Or,
yeah.
It's, what's that called? Quiet Strength?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I had it right. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, like how that started up and like, what do you guys mostly do with that? And, is that another main source of income for you guys? Talk a little bit
Sure.
about that.
Yeah, so that is actually our full-time job. It's our main day-to-day job.
Okay.
And it's kind of cool. Like, when we were little, we, dreamed of having like a comic strip together or be illustrators. And here we are. I'm 31 and we kind of do that. So basically I've loved art forever. My dad, I think, taught me how to like doodle during church just to keep me still. And after, so I loved drawing and painting. And after high school, my buddy, who was in the graphic design field, he worked at Live Nation doing a lot of their tour flyers and all these things. And he said, "Hey man, why don't you come in for let me see some of your work. I'd love to have like a summer intern, like an unpaid summer intern." And so I went there not knowing hardly anything about graphic design and the digital side of art. But after that summer, I learned so much, and they decided to hire me as a full-time employee, which is crazy. So I ended up actually being a contractor because I couldn't give up, touring and all these things with my band. And so I worked for Live Nation for 8 years doing graphic design for artists like, Def Leppard and Dierks Bentley and a lot of, Prince when he was still around. And,
Nice.
And so that's kind of where I learned my chops. And then COVID hit and we were kind of forced to make a decision. I got laid off. There was no concerts happening during that time. So my brother and I was like, this is the time. So we launched Quiet Strength Design, and it's been going pretty strong ever since.
That's awesome. And so at what point in time did that take over as your main source of income? Like what, was it just doing album covers? Was it doing tour promotions? Like what was the big ask for you that said that, okay, yeah, we've got business coming in here. Let's focus on this.
Yeah, it worked really well just because of the band. We had a lot of friends and people that we knew in the music industry that needed t-shirt designs and logos and, things like that. And so we automatically had kind of a market, I guess, for our art. So, at first we barely charged anything and we had a lot of business. And so, yeah, it's been a great tool and avenue to go. Like we kind of treat our business as like alongside of our art, like that's kind of our main focus is like the music industry anyways.
You get a lot of people when you're out, if you're touring with a couple different bands, that they, after a show, "Hey, can you help us with this?" So you get a lot of your business just from people that you're actually playing with.
Totally. Yeah. It's most of our, we don't advertise at all. So all of our business comes from word of mouth, and that's how we ended up doing, Lacey Sturm's merchandise and her album art and, a lot of those kind of people.
Yeah. And because there's a lot of, it seems like interwoven connections here, even to something else we'll get to talk about with our buddy Trevor Tyson, because, of his, with his promotion company. And with you guys doing artwork, you got Lacey involved, you got yourselves. I know you've done some stuff for Skillet. I know that's not one of Trevor's, connect or his clients. But so is a lot of this business coming from because of the connections that you've had? Or are they coming to you, or are you going to them?
I guess it just kind of depends. I would say most of the time they come to me, or Trevor finds a way to get me the business. He's been a huge champion for the band and our business. And I think he's like a silver-tongued devil or something, man. He just, he has a way with words and he has a way with people, and he's really gifted. And so he brings in a lot of our clients, honestly.
He's a catalyst also. I mean, he's a true guy that just, has connections, makes connections. He's a self-made guy. And he's got a big, huge heart, willing to use it to gift to people, whatever he can. And so I know we're eventually going to dive deep into the protest, but let me talk a little bit about Heal the Hurt. And and obviously because your connection with Trevor, that he pulled you into that project. Were you, I think I probably know the answer, but we're going to ask and talk about it. But was your involvement with that more because a friend of yours asked, or because of the message that he wanted to put out there? Or was it both? What was more of the pressing thing for you to say, yeah, people have got to hear this word? Or was it, whatever you want to do, I'll help you out? Like, what was the pressing thing for you to get involved?
Sure. I would say, probably a little bit of both. Trevor and I have been friends for a while, and so I just know his story and I know his heart. And so he would tell me, like, before Heal the Hurt was even a thing, what he's going through, his struggles, how I could pray for him. And then he told me he started to write them into songs. And so I've been there from the start, I guess, from Heal the Hurt. And then, he just said, because I didn't have any part of the writing or anything like that, or even the recording. But he wanted a team of people, I think, in Heal the Hurt that he trusted and loved. And so he came to me and said, hey, man, like, would you want to play drums with this? Like, would you want to be in the videos and the photos and just be a part of the group? And, I would pretty much do anything for Trevor. And I was like, absolutely. Like, to get you off the ground, to be a part of what you're doing, because I believe in his message and he has a powerful story.
Right.
So I guess it's a blend of both.
Yeah, and the for people that are into the harder metal, Christian message type of stuff, I think it's connecting with people from a musical standpoint, and from a message, I really think it's connecting with the young people. And even older people, I guess, but there's a lot of young people going through a lot of battles these days with, just the social media has destroyed so many youth, right? I mean, it's been social media, much like political correctness that people have said was, created by Satan, and just like anything that is out there and available, it's how you use it and what your intentions are with it is what you're going to, whether you get in trouble or you don't get in trouble. And so people that, these young people, they just feel so much pressure to have likes, to have people follow them, to have people like them. And that came from just the pressure of social media to begin with. And if they're not getting it, that takes them down. When they start getting feedback from people that is putting them down, which look, there's just mean-spirited people out there, and social media just invites those mean-spirited people to comment on things. And so when you add that into it, these kids become self-destructive. They need to know that that's not life, and that is not their truth. That there's a better way, and there's, a different way to follow. So getting that message out there, because one thing I do know for a fact, and this was so true in this op-ed that Ryan Clark from Demon Hunter wrote about how the kids pay so much attention to the lyrics, because the parents were apparently very upset about, like, the look of their album covers and the sound of their music, and they thought it was like Satan's music and stuff like this. And he's like, listen to our message, read our words. We're anything. We're the opposite. We are demon hunters.
Right.
But one thing that he said, he goes, these kids read the lyrics, they pay attention. That matters more than anything. The music draws them in, right? But it's the lyrics that they dive into. Yeah. And so if they're attracted to that style of music that Heal the Hurt is doing, they're going to dive into the lyrics, and that's what's going to get them and make an impact. Do you feel the same way?
Totally. Yeah. That's probably my whole reason of doing music ministry and, being in a rock band. Because if I just did it for the fame and fortune, then I don't think I'd be it anymore. Right. But, just hearing those stories and testimonies of people like I plan on killing myself tonight, but instead I came to your show and now I have hope. Now I have a different outlook, and those kind of things. There's a lot of testimonies of songs of ours and just how God has been working through those. And so, yeah, it really is powerful and it's life-changing. I've been changed by it. I started following bands like Disciple and Demon Hunter and things, when I was in high school or middle school. And so it profoundly changed my life. And so I just wanted to do the same thing.
That's awesome. And, I guess it's a two-edged sword, right? It's great that you hear these testimonies of people saying that, they came to the show and something happened where it changed their life or they committed to Christ or whatever. Or I was ready, like you said, I was ready to commit suicide, but, now I've changed my mind after, experiencing your show or music or whatever. So that part is great. But the fact that there are people out there that have gotten to that point is the tragic part. And how many more are not taking that step to find the heal for their hurt. And they don't, get saved by anything, they don't know the message of Christ. They don't, they end up killing themselves. And that's the really sad part about all this. The Whosoevers is doing a great job with the youth and many other organizations like that out there. So would you consider, I know this is probably more a question for Trevor, but since you're involved, would you consider Heal the Hurt a ministry of sorts?
Oh, definitely. I don't know what they're like branded as, if that's even like a title of theirs, but it's, 100% a ministry. Whatever you do for the least of these, you do for Jesus. And so, his message is just really powerful. And I think now more than ever, like mental illness and depression and Satan's always been around, but I feel like now more than ever, like you were saying with social media, like when we first started the band, I never heard of anyone cutting themselves. That was a rare thing. But now almost every show I see cut marks, or every show I hear something like that. And so I just know that it's more prevalent. So I think what we're doing is time sensitive and very important.
I think that's the main thing that attracted me to working with Lacey to tell her story in film format is, her books were making an impact. Her testimony, whether it be on the Billy Graham special, The Cross, or, the testimonies that she's given via, Franklin Graham or in concert, even back with Flyleaf, is making an impact. So I think a feature film would make an even bigger impact. We're not here to try to save people. That's not our job. Our job is to try to evangelize or deliver that message, or try to bring people to consider themselves as something better than what they're already thinking themselves as. And I guess to a point, a lot of bands, I think you can go beyond even Christian bands, in some way can act as a ministry. Even when you think of other, because like I said, the amount of that kids pay attention to lyrics, bands like, U02, who consider themselves to be a Christian band, but they never got branded that, right? Or Switchfoot, obviously, that kind of swings both ways. The Flyleaf, that kind of, they never branded themselves as a Christian band, but everybody knew that they kind of were. Their music and their lyrics become somewhat of a ministry to kind of pull people in. So that's pretty cool. So let's talk about the protest. First of all, what the name? Let's deal with the name. Of all the names you could have chosen, from bread box to ant carrying a stick to the protest, why did you settle on the protest?
Yeah, it doesn't sound super original. It's a little generic. No, so it's kind of a funny story. In high school, we were called Protest for Pluto. and because the planet got kicked out of the solar system.
Right.
It was like they're picking on the little guy kind of thing. But we weren't a ministry back then. We just, we were just a rock band. And sorry, I think my phone was. But yeah, so we weren't a ministry back then. But then we started getting serious about our faith all around the same time. And we went down right when I graduated high school in 2011. We went down and worked with the producer Travis Wyrick, and he's a POD and Disciple and a lot of those things. And he just kind of said like, "Hey guys, like, first of all, this name is it's goofy, but it's not." Yeah, like, I don't know, if you want to get serious about your music, serious about your faith, what can we do here? And we started, we had a fan base at the time in our hometown, and we didn't want people like to not recognize us if we're on a billboard or a poster. So we decided to just shorten it to The Protest, which really, I think is cool, because when people see The Protest on something, they're like, it's kind of an edgy name. It makes you wonder, like, we've had people show up to our shows like, is there a protest happening here? Like, well, I mean,
what are you angry about?
Like, yeah. So we always say that, we're protesting not against anything, but we're protesting for love, for truth. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, every band has a story to tell with it. Even, John Cooper with Skillet, he hates the backstory for the band Skillet. He even hates the name Skillet for the band, but there's a backstory to it, right?
Right.
So that's kind of cool, like how you even transitioned. So like, it's really difficult, I think, rare for young kids such as yourself to be that committed to Christ and that committed to your music at the same time. Who was your biggest influence to really fire you up about doing both? Or maybe it was one over the other. Was there anybody that said, yeah, this is the way to go. This is the way to take our music, and this is the way to take myself, in life?
It's hard to pinpoint one person. I know that, like, my parents have been extremely supportive of the band since the beginning. And without my mom, I don't think I would be a believer today. So, that molding when I was younger had a good, like, a base, I guess, of what to do. And then when we started getting into bands like Disciple, that really paved the way for us, musically, stylistically. We're like, man, I want to do what they're doing. And so when we worked with Travis, it was a dream come true, because we had Brad Noah of Disciple play a solo on that record. We had, some other guest features, and Noah Henson from Pillar was on that record. And so it was a dream come true, and all that kind of like built us and encouraged us to keep going. And I don't know. It's funny. Like my parents never like urged it. Like I said, like they never said you have to go in this direction. But I fell in love with hair metal and classic rock when I was young, and I used to wear like girl pants in school and zebra stripes, so I was ate up about it. And
right.
But I think God sometimes uses like what you love so dearly to lead your path in life. So
that's awesome. Yeah. The other thing too that I think is really difficult for bands these days is, to do this as a business or as a living, right? Although when Cindy was on our show back in our first season, Cindy Mothership Blankenship, for those of you who don't know Cindy, one of the nicest people on the planet you'll ever meet. When I asked her who are the up and coming bands that she thought were going to break through to the next level, she mentioned two bands, Glasslands and The Protest. So, and I see you guys even playing at festivals moving up in the ranks as far as, where you're playing, whether it's the second in line or third in line and stuff like that. So you're obviously making an impact somewhere. You guys are independent now, not on a label. I want to also mention and congratulate you guys. You've hit the 2 million streams on Spotify with What Else You Got, which is fantastic, right? I mean, that's a huge success for that. How does a band like you guys keep going forward and getting more fans and rising up through the ranks of playing at festivals or even opening for other bands like Disciple and Skillet and stuff like that? Is it just trying to get as many people as possible to hear your music? Is you have to sink a lot more money into it for, promoting yourself? How are you guys doing it?
I think there's two things I would say. The biggest, whenever anyone asks us for advice, which we're not, in a place probably for the greatest advice, but we always say to sow good seeds. I think that'll take you a lot farther than any amount of money can, really, because people will remember, we need an opener for this tour or whatever. Oh yeah, those guys work hard. They're really nice. Sow good seeds. I think we've tried to do our best at that, and people do remember that. If you treat people good, it'll come back around to you. The other thing is honestly, like Shawshank Redemption, pressure and time. The band started when I was in 6th grade. But that was, the spring of 05. And, we just haven't quit. And I think, there's a lot better bands that have come and gone. But we have such a foundation of friendship and trust. And I don't know, everyone's like, man, how have you had the same members for so long? And I credit that to God, I guess. And also just being so tight and honest, and so it's hard to find members, I guess, in bands like that. But we're very blessed, and so pressure and time and sowing good seeds, I'd say.
No, what I don't see a lot of lately, and this is probably unfortunate, the bands that have been around even a little bit longer than you guys, that I don't want to say that they've made it to a different level, you know what I mean? Like Skillet or Red or even Disciple and so on. I think they've paid a longer price to get to where they're at, but especially in the way of Skillet, it took having a radio playable song that crossed over into mainstream, and their songs were getting played and breaks in the NHL or the NFL, and they're playing their music in the breaks and stuff like that. So people hear it and they, who is that? When they're playing Hero or they're playing Monster or whatever. Do you think that's what it takes for a band nowadays to? Is there going to be a band? I guess you can't really have a crystal ball, but do you think that there's an ability for a band like yourself, who's on an independent label, and maybe are you striving for this, to write that song that's going to cross over, that more people pick up on? Or are you just happy just trudging forward doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of the Wild West, I think, for the music industry, just because everything has changed so much. The credibility of labels doesn't mean as much anymore. Radio play, radio isn't as big anymore. A lot of the most popular songs on the rock charts are super heavy. There's not a formula anymore for a catchy pop song. So we've definitely done that. What Else You Got was a perfect example of trying to write a sports anthem. We've done that with Show Up to the Showdown. But now I think as of late, we've kind of been more realistic about, we may never be rock stars. So let's just write what we want to write. Let's just have fun. And so right now I'm just kind of in a season of enjoying the ride and loving playing drums and writing music. And if it happens, that would be amazing. So I don't know.
Well, because like I think that like back in their first album, Decipher Down, with Fight Like This, they were using that for MMAs and boxing matches and stuff like that, and they got them some notoriety, but then it kind of faded away. You know what I mean? And it never pushed them up to that level. So maybe that's not as important, or that's maybe not a key to getting there. You know what I mean? But you guys, your music is a lot like Disciple, or even Red or Demon Hunter, where you have these melodic songs that are radio playable, because there's plenty of Christian rock stations out there playing your stuff, and then there's the heavier stuff that some of those stations will play, some will stay away from, and those are probably more for the fans. Is there a formula you do, or is just whatever you're feeling? Like, like, hey, I got this great hook, and this is going to make a great song. But then maybe, does that sound too much not like your stuff that you want to be doing? Like, how do you balance that out between writing the heavy stuff and the melodic stuff?
Yeah, it is kind of hard. When we first started writing the record that we're writing now, it's just kind of write whatever you want to write, whatever comes out. But we still do, like, there is still a formula, I think, for like a good song and a hook. And, there's certain like chord changes and certain like patterns and even tempos that do make a radio hit song. And so we still use that to kind of calculate, like, okay, we do need a ballad for this album. So we started writing a ballad, but for the most part, I think, we just write what we want to write, but we all love catchy stuff. So we're trying to write what we think fans will like, what we like to hear, something that's interesting, Well,
you guys have a lot of energy too. So if anybody hasn't had a chance to see you guys live, and if they're playing in your town, please go out and see the protest, because you guys definitely bring a lot of energy, and it's a great show. So let's talk about the song we heard coming into the intro, your new song, "Take It Back," right? And what's the backstory of that song?
Yeah, we're like, I guess when you go back to Protest for Pluto, we just love underdogs, Right. So this song is kind of an underdog fight song. In the bridge, I think, speaks the whole song for us. Like, Jesus Christ was the biggest underdog of all time. We're going to follow in his footsteps. Like, we welcome your backlash because he was whiplashed, like, he has experienced it all before we have. And so he can relate to us. He can sympathize with us. He can get us through anything. So, and it's also you can have your world back. We've tasted it. We don't love it. We have something better waiting for us. So,
yeah, that's really cool. And it's, I think when the song's pretty heavy, but yeah, it's got its hook. But and different singers and different bands say different things when it comes to like putting that emphasis, that growl or a scream into a song or something like that. Like with Lacey, she says it's mostly, sometimes it's about protest, but sometimes it's about spiritual warfare, but it's always for a purpose. And sometimes for some people, the purpose is, it sounds really cool right there. What is that formula for you guys? I mean, I know it's probably more of a Josh question, but I know you help write some of the songs for you guys. Is there a thought process of like, oh, this needs to be heavy right here, or this whole song needs to be heavy because of what we're trying to get? Like, what's your formula for that?
Yeah, I think, Josh or TJ could probably answer that way better. But if you listen to the song, it's not it's heavy, but it's not like a dark song. It's not like a sad song. It's more of, I think, like a victory scream, if that makes sense. And like a fight scream, like I guess like the spiritual warfare scream. But we knew that it had to be aggressive to kind of deliver the message that we were wanting to get across. So yeah, Josh or TJ could be way better at that. But TJ wrote the chorus like melody, and then Josh and we all kind of wrote the lyrics together. But when the lyrics are paired with that, it kind of makes you just want to like scream along with it, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's cool. I can't wait to hear more stuff that you guys have coming out.
Thanks, man.
Are you, I guess, very similar to what a lot of bands are doing right now is just as you get them recorded, you're putting them out there, or is there, are you working towards a full album, or are you just recording, getting it out there, record, get it out there? How do you guys go about doing that now that you're independent?
Right. Yeah. Things have changed a lot. We're definitely going to put out a full length album. But like back in the day, we would go down to the studio for 5 or 6 weeks and just record the whole thing at once. Now things have changed a little bit. We're writing, we're evaluating what songs are best, and then we're tracking them. And then just kind of releasing them when the time is right and when the money's there and, when everything makes sense. So I don't have a direct timeline on when the album will be, but, hopefully this year, maybe the early next year.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Everybody keep an eye out for that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And, we talked about you helping out Trevor with Heal the Hurt. We also got pulled into Skillet, of all bands, a few years back when Jed Ledger had to honor some commitments with her band Ledger. And so they brought Lacey in to sing Jen's parts, which was really cool, but Lacey doesn't play drums. So they had to find a drummer that could match Jen's intensity. So I guess they looked on their short list and say, hey, there's Jarob Bramlett. He's number one on their list. Now, how did that come about? Was there anybody else in their mind, or like they just went right to you, said, hey, we need you. Can you do us?
That's the crazy thing. Skill's been around forever. They know every drummer in the world. They know Morgan Rose from Seven Dust. They know so many good drummers. I don't know why they chose me. The protest had some dates, like some club dates booked with Fight the Fury, John's metal band.
Yeah.
And since they were, club dates, they were kind of more smaller shows. And so, their crew and their band would catch our set a lot of the time. And one of those shows happened to be in, like Racine, Wisconsin, kind of like the home of Skillet.
Right.
So all of Skillet came out to watch that show. And I remember there being a little balcony in the bar that we were at. And I remember seeing Jen up there filming us while I was playing. And I was like, this is surreal. Like, I'm not sure why she's filming our set.
She was scouting you is what she was doing.
Turns out she was, yes. But I don't know, man, God's so good. It was all his orchestrating. But I do think, like John and I talked a couple times during those shows, and hopefully he saw my heart, and that's what prompted him more so than my playing. But man, when I got a call, probably 2 months later saying that they needed to fill in, and I thought he meant for Fight the Fury.
Right.
And I said, okay, cool, FTF. And he said, no, Skillet. And
you're like,
I think
what?
it was around Christmas time. Yeah. My jaw dropped. I immediately told my family, and he sent me this stuff to practice. And I think I practiced like at least 2 hours every single day for like 2 months straight, just because I could not blow that opportunity. I grew up going to see Skillet multiple times. I met them all like when I was young, and it truly was a dream come true. So crazy.
Did you find out at the same time that Lacey was going to be there also? And how did you feel about that?
Yeah, I didn't know at the same time who was going to sing.
Okay.
And then I found out later that Lacey would. And I remember watching like the I'm So Sick video and the Fully Alive video, on MTV when I was young. Like it was super surreal. But when I got to the first rehearsal with Skillet, the drum tech, Johnny, pulled me aside. He said, hey, man, like, you've been practicing the vocal parts too, right? Lacey can't be here. And I was like, can we drop the songs a couple of keys so I can hit the notes?
Well, I know you sing. You're a really good singer, but I don't know about hitting Jen's stuff.
No, not at all.
That's pretty awesome. So have you been asked to fill in for anybody else since then? Or is this going to become a regular for you, or what else have you been doing other than them, or is it just been now focusing on the protest?
Yeah, sorry, one sec. I'm getting that phone charger.
Uh-oh.
My daughter's watching that. Yeah. Yeah, no, since then I've filled in for some friends of ours in a band called Spoken.
Yeah.
And I've filled
I love them.
for
Yeah.
The Letter Black. I've done some session work for some bands on their albums. And so, yeah, it's actually a lot of fun to learn and play other people's music and to play live with them, too, especially like Spoken. I think when I played with them, it was a super group. It was Josiah Prince from Disciple,
Right.
Dave Hostetter from Children 18-3, JR from Spoken, and then me. So it was pretty wild.
That's awesome. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, the Letter Black is also they consider themselves a Pittsburgh band. They're from Uniontown, not far from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Right down the road, not very far from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Mark Anthony produced our second record, actually.
You know, this is a different Mark Anthony, but you know, it's both notoriable in their own manners. But
That's right.
That's funny because that Mark Anthony came up 2 years ago here in Pittsburgh. I was voting for Pittsburgh Music Awards, and I'm going for my friend's band. I'm going through it, and in the Hall of Fame, I'm going to see. I wonder who are the finalists to select for that. And there's a Mark Anthony. It came up, and at first I started doing research, so I already knew the name of this band when you brought it up. It ended up being it was actually me. So it was just, and I was like, I didn't even know I was even up for that. So I did. Although this last year though, I did get voted in. But I went out and looked for that band, and I thought I'm like, who's another Mark Anthony here around Pittsburgh? And I brought up their band. I started listening to them. I'm like, it has to be them. And I went and inquired about, like, nope, it's not him, it's you.
Yeah,
wow.
That's wow. So what else you got coming up on the horizon? A new protest song? You guys continuing your touring? You just came off of Kingdom Come Festival. You've got Loud and Proud Festival. Speaking of Cindy, out in Germany, you've got that coming up in what, September or something like that. What else you got on the docket?
Man, we have a handful of festival dates in July. I know Life Fest and Audio Feed. We have a Chains Unchained Festival. We have a few. And then we have a show this upcoming weekend with 10 Years in Indianapolis. And then taking August off. We're booking a fall tour right now, so keep your eye out for that. It's not announced yet. And then just in the studio.
Well, let's put your social media contacts up there so people can follow you guys. So is it mostly just the Protest Rocks, or is it different on Instagram and Facebook? We'll flash them up there.
Yeah. I think Facebook's just the Protest, and then Instagram and everything else is the Protest Rocks.
All right. What else you at? You on YouTube, on X?
Yeah, YouTube. I don't think we're on X anymore.
Okay. You on Rumble at all?
No.
Okay.
I think, mainly Instagram, Facebook. We have a website, theprotestrocks.com. You can check out our merch store there. About to announce some new merch. YouTube, we have a lot of videos. We're one of the few bands that likes to make music videos for almost every single. So
that's awesome.
Catch the Take It Back video.
Yeah, and they're really creative too. So I mean, again, I encourage everybody to go check you guys out. Listen to the music, watch the videos, catch them whenever they're playing in a town near you. The protest is really cool. Jarob, I want to really thank you for taking the time out to spend some time with us, and wish you nothing but the best of everything in the future. And hopefully we had talked earlier in this show about Mark and I's new endeavors with our upcoming podcast and my Rock Your Faith Out, and we hope to have you on as a guest with that, because the discussions are going to be a little bit different on that show. So hopefully we can get you back on that show in the future. So
Definitely.
we also hope everybody has a great summer. Well, we're not taking the summer off. This might be our final season, but we're not taking the summer off. But this is the beginning of summer. Let's get the ball rolling here. Catch it to someone. There you go. Someone catch that ball. So for Jarob Bramlett, for the Big M, Mark Anthony, I am Michael Kadrie, and we will see you next time on, there's that thumb again, on the Blabber Brains Show. See you guys.
Thank you, guys. Honored to be here.